Okay, in the videos from now on, what I'm trying to do is to make an introduction to where we're going. So you can turn off the videos immediately and say, oh, I get this, or this has no interest to me whatsoever. This is the first part of a video where we're reading from the St. Louis Fed database, and we're going to gather all these little code numbers for inflation rates and for exchange rates, and we're going to do that in order to um, see whether there's this how much deviation you really have from period to period from the PPP, purchasing power parity inflation. In other words, how much does inflation affect the exchange rates, and how much are the exchange rate left to everything else? So if we're gonna, there's going to be a lot of discussion about macros to read the sheets. This one's to clear the sheets, excuse me. This one's to read the sheets. And you can look at them and switch off the video. And right now I'm going to clear all the sheets out. There's a little macro that clears everything out, so we have absolutely nothing left except some references and all that. And then we're going to read all the data. And when we read all the data, it's going through, excuse me, I hope this, it's not really slow at this hotel, but it's going to, it should be much faster than this, by the way. It's going one by one, it's changing the code number to 1, reading this data in, putting it in a sheet name called USCPI, and then it's going to read the second one and put that in a sheet name. You see down there, it's got a little thing that says that it's reading from that sheet name, and from the third sheet name, and from the fourth sheet name, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's the introduction. This is a video about getting data from the Fred website. Okay, this it really is pretty good. This website that has um, the the a whole host of economic data. You go to the St. Louis Fed, and then you can get all these data series. Okay, maybe I'll go here. You've probably seen that. You can get by category, or you can put in, let's say I want a Kenya key exchange rate. I'm going to try to get to the point as quickly as possible, and the point here is that if you go to the exchange rate, you can do a couple of things. You can download this. I think there's an add-in you can get even. You can edit the graph. In the old days, you can get a text file, and you could copy the text file. When you download this one to Excel, I don't know, or PowerPoint or something, on what this is, even when I try this, I'll go to, I can't, for some reason, I can't get the URL. So here's what you do instead. You take this little thing right here. Everything has a little thing, and they used to put it on these text files, and then you just copy that. Shh, I'm saying it quietly because it's like a secret. You copy it to here, and then here's the thing. They have data, and you just attach this to the. So if I wanted to download this one, I would take this one, and then I would add the little thing here. Now, I think this is one of the best websites out there. A lot of people do, I think. I got criticized, I think. This Coreality or somebody says, oh, no, this guy's just a piece of shit who just puts free stuff up there. Maybe that's all I am, and that's, who cares? I live in a tiny little house. I'm not one of these people who live in these palaces that waste all this energy. Okay, now we're going to Where was I? What an idiot I am. Why would you watch one of these videos? So if we go to here, now if I go to here, I really can't do this. I'm going to copy and paste special as values, okay? And then you go to this thing, and it just, okay, that was pretty bad. Excuse me for that. You have to put dot text at the end. So if we wanted to read this, what we would have to do is after we attach this, we'd have to put another and then a double quote dot double inverted comma. Okay, and then we can get it. Okay, now you copy this, edit, paste special as values, blah blah blah, and you. Okay, I shouldn't. I think I swore just before. You know, I'm not gonna swear anymore because then Coreality will say he swears in his videos. Bad person. Okay, no. Now then, what we can do here is then get all of these. Okay, so to get all of these, we'll just use our old favorite, the index function. And then what we do is we're going to read one of them at a time. And then after we read one of them at a time, we'll just put them in a new sheet and we'll use the, we're going to use the workbooks dot open, of course. We'll use the index function to read the different files. And then finally, we'll use the indirect function to put together data. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Now, let's use the index function. Of course, we need a little code number somewhere. Okay, how about I'll go here. Code number. Now, what I did here, which was the biggest pain, it was an incredible pain. I'm getting the inflation rate and the exchange rate against USD for all of these currencies, and we're going to test. We're going to try to see if this PPP, this purchasing power parity, not public-private partnership, an important issue in modeling, if that really does work. Okay, it's like some kind of study or something. Okay, now let's Shift Control F3. So there are going to be a couple of videos in this set, I'm sure, because I'm sure I'm not going to be able to do it immediately. So what we do up here is let's just get an index and whoops, and tab, of course. Shift Control down arrow, and then, you know, do this, and then we can copy the index over here. Now this is going to be our sheet name, and we have to make sure it's not too long. Okay, and this is going to be our code or whatever. Okay, and then once we get the code, we have our blank, and then our URL, and the URL will just be this one, and we put an and sign, and we get this thing, and then an and sign, and do .txt. And we can get all of these files, throw them into these sheet names, just go around and around and around. We'll just go around from code number 1 to code number 2 to code number 3, and so on and so on and so on. Okay? Now, to do this, we need to use the workbooks.open function. Now, I'm going to cheat this time in just a minute. I think I don't want to waste your time for a second. Now, I've previously done this in it's called interest rates, okay? And I clear all the sheets and then get them. Now, I didn't do it efficiently because I just read these URLs in separately. Okay, now but then for each of the things, I put all this wording stuff at the top, and then at the bottom we put this in. So I'm going to cheat, and I'm just going to get and I think you should do this. The only bad thing about doing this is if you reprogram something, a lot of times you'll improve it, but we'll get all the things. We'll clear all the sheets, and then we'll get the data. Okay, so I'm going to take all of this stuff and close this, and then go back to Control Tab. Sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. Go to the developer, maybe go to a macro, and then how about we'll put test as something just to create one, and then we don't really care about it, and then we put all this stuff at the end. Get rid of this, and we've copied all the files. Okay, now when we do this, this get data is really the key thing. We just want to get one piece of data, and let's just see what we did, and perhaps I'll document it while I'm going through it. And I should really I don't think I have to put what the display is, and it makes this, these just make it go faster. Okay, and remember where you are. Now I've done a lot of these things where put sheet at the end. Now this one we read economic URL. I'll name it the same thing. ECON URL. Okay, so now we can we don't have to kind of reprogram that. Okay, this is the big read the file, read text file from the my ride to the airport's here. I've got to pause. I've got to go on a 22-hour flight to Jakarta. Okay, this is kind of an embarrassing pause in the video. God knows how many thousands of miles from where I just started it, about a 24-hour flight, and I'm a little bit tired, but I think it's worth finishing this one. We'll keep going, even though my family says, not my son, my other family says, "You idiot, why'd you make those videos?" I'm like, you idiot. Now, I added a public variable called fixed titles. I just said, well, let's just temporarily make that false. And this fixed titles, what it does is it goes through and it I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit by showing you kind of what happens is what you do is you take the text file, and once you read in the text file, it reads in very, very quickly. But it when you make it text to columns and use a space, which is really what you have to do so you can get these two, the real data, into two different places, it puts this stuff over like this, you know, with all these spaces at the top. So what you could do is you could just say, okay, well, after we use the text to columns, and this text to columns somehow has, just because I've recorded it like that, it has a space option in here. And then I say, okay, well, if you've got a space option, then let's go through the titles and just put them back together. I think I just described that. Now remember, I just told you that. Now, the final thing is there can be an error. Well, no. One of the last things is, well, we want to make the sheet name. We want to, once we bring all this in and copy this in, standard kind of copying things, we'll make this thing the sheet name. See, this is I just selected this, press Shift Control F3, Shift Control F3 to repeat. So that's our sheet name. Okay. Now, okay, so I think, and once you've got that finished for reading one piece of data, then you can get all the data. I switch this to manual, and it goes very quickly. I was at the airport and I read this stuff in. I was surprised with the airport free internet. I never pay for the internet, you know. I got it all in. And I start with a base sheet, and then what you do is you just go from one and get all the data. Now, I just made this thing a range name called all data, I think. Excuse me. I'm going to have to rename this range name. I'll call it all data. And oops, should have started here. So if I press Control F3 and look for all data, what you can do is then say, well, instead of starting in D12, I'd like to start in D9. So I'm just going to change that by hand. That's probably not a really good way to do that, but we'll do that. Okay, and then so we've just got to count for how many things we go through, and then we say, okay, well, let's go from one to all that data, and here's the key thing: we change the code number. The code number runs an index function, and here is the code number. Here, if we make this code number 2, it reads the second, inflation rate 3, the third, 4, the fourth, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and we're just reading that in, and then we go and get the data. And I hope this one is called get data up here. It's called get data, so it just goes through and gets the data for each one, puts it in a new spreadsheet, tells you who you're downloading. Not important, that status bar puts things at the bottom at the very end. You change it back to 1, and you remember what kind of calculation status you started with at the beginning. So that's that. And that's it for reading in the files. Now the next thing we're going to do is use the indirect function. But before that, I'm going to stop the video, okay?